Chairman of the session, Dr. Chandra, Kumar, my fellow panelists. I want to focus on a few points and not take a long time. I think the first session, many of the speakers could not speak, so we'll try to be brief in this. One of the things is that why. Yeah, so one of the points is why education, and more importantly, why higher education? Or why professional education, technical education is more importantly professional education. One thing we see is that basic education basically empowers, develops your brain, it makes you suitable for future challenges for a child, etc., etc. So when I say primary education, secondary education, they are a must for everyone. You must have the basic mathematical skills, basic communication skills, basic thinking skills, so that you go into the society and do well. But is it necessary that you must also have technical education? Does everybody need technical education? So one of the arguments which was put up by Professor Mantha in this thing that everybody must have access. That is true, everybody must have access. And he was comparing the education sector with the other sectors like automobile or what have you. There is a very fundamental difference between this. One is, if I have bought a car and if I don't like it, I can sell it off and buy a new car. But if you got a degree in engineering and you don't like it, you find it's useless, for example, you can't throw it away. It sticks to you for life. And so therefore, the decision making is not the same with buying a car and going for education. On the other hand, if I'm only interested in knowledge, let us say, so I can take a class, let's say I am interested in cooking, right? Which is not about my profession, etc. So I can join a cooking class. Suppose I find it's useless, I can say, okay, forget this cooking, I will join some other cooking class and learn. But that's not the case in our engineering. So suppose I join a particular college, don't like the degree, don't like the education, I can't say, okay, let me throw the certificate out and let's join engineering all over again. The whole society will look at you with extreme suspicion, saying, are you mad or what? I mean, two, three engineering degrees, what is it about? Also, one more aspect is, there is a similarity between higher education, and I put it as cosmetics. So all those creams and all that, it may not make you beautiful, but it gives you hope. You think you are beautiful, right? It gives you hope. And similarly, education is also about giving hope. So when I join an education, technical education, it's a student, why does he join technical education? I mean, why don't you go and join history or anthropology somewhere, for example? I mean, we have an option, they charge you much less, etc. It is because there is a certain hope. And what is that hope? Often the hope is that I will get a job, I will have a security, economic security, etc. And that hope drives people towards the technical education. It's not that technical education is anything great or otherwise. It's that hope which drives. And if we are not able to meet that hope, eventually it will become a education which maybe people will not be attracted to. So therefore, it is important from the point of view of the government and the education and professors and all of us, that whatever hope we are giving to the aspiring students, and we are able to meet that hope, if not for everyone, but at least for most of them. So if we say that if I provide education to 100 people and only 25 of them get jobs, whereas everybody was hoping for a job, we are obviously not meeting the expectation. So if 10 people don't meet the expectation, don't get a job, it's fine. But if you say 75% don't meet the expectation of finding a job, I think we are not meeting that expectation, and eventually the system will degenerate, and we don't know how it will work. The second aspect, which also I want to highlight, is this: that earlier, they talked about two colleges. And I remember I was a child, and one of my uncles, he was a student in Burla, I think, And when he passed out, he did not get a job for 5 years in civil engineering. So we think in those days there was very low capacity, therefore people must be getting many jobs. That was not true. So in those days, if there is a government project which comes up, they will take people for 5 years, and after that again for next 5 years there are no recruitment, people just sit at home. So even in those days, it's not that, because there were fewer engineering colleges and the top students used to go there, because only I think about 300-400 seats were there in the whole state, it doesn't mean that everybody used to get a job and everybody used to be happy. Today we have got into a highly regulated system. The IIIT and the government, everybody tries to regulate it. In fact, they set basic standards for the infrastructure requirements and things like that. And sometimes those rules are pretty naive and maybe little out of date and out of context. So for example, once I remember they had a rule that for so many students you should have so many computers as a proportion, and for so many computers you should have so many printers as a proportion. So that is fine, but in one of the institutes they had a network computer, right? It was a massive computer costing about 5 lakh rupees, but one computer. So if you look at the proportion, it doesn't matter. But if they had bought computers worth 5,000, they could have bought maybe hundreds of them. But they decided to buy a huge one. And the IIIT committee had a difficulty in saying, okay, how do I certify that you have the necessary infrastructure? Because as far as the numbers are concerned, it is not there. Functions, yes, but numbers, no. So similarly, we have rules about how many students, how many faculty members per student, and so on and so forth. And sometimes these are little archaic. So today, you can deliver education using technology. So suppose, it's like we used to have the theatres, we had the cinema. So theatres, unless for every show you require so many artists. So if you have to have 10 shows, you require that multiplied by 10 artists. But when you have the cinema, Amitabh Bachchan plays one-time role and all of us watch it as many times as we like. So are we saying that cinema is not acceptable, only theatre is acceptable? So today, we are saying there's a huge shortage of teachers. That is true. And that shortage will remain because the quality people actually look for alternate environments, and most people who actually are not able to get it, they come to the teaching profession to a large extent. That remains true. And at that stage, so can't we use technology and take inputs from one very good teacher and make it replicable and reusable and delivered a number of times? So if that is acceptable, then do I need so many teachers per student? So if I say one good teacher delivers a fantastic lecture, I can go on delivering it year after year, every class after class, then why do I need, let's say, so many classes? It's like the debate between theatre versus the cinema. So today, we have technology, we have this online courses. I have taken some online courses. There was one particular course, I just wanted to see how good it is. And I found that I started at 9 o'clock in the evening and I sat through the class till about 2 o'clock in the morning. So unless it's engaging at my age, I'm sure that I would have fallen asleep by the time it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. It was very engaging. The MHRD has this NPTEL program where they also create such kind of videos. And I said, okay, let me try one of those NPTEL things on a subject that I'm aware of, on a subject I don't know. To my surprise, I found maybe I could not stand for more than pay attention for more than 10 minutes. And after that I was getting bored and however hard I tried, I said, okay, it's very difficult. So there is technology, we are trying to adopt technology. There are professors from IITs and IIScs and other sites, they are trying to deliver that. So those professors are used to talking to students. They are not used to talking to a camera. So this fellow, he gives a lecture, looks at the camera, completely blank on his face, zero emotion, not a muscle twitches while he is talking, but he talks. So when you are used to, your Star TV and, what have you, when people see online quality like that, NPTEL doesn't match in terms of quality, in terms of emotion, in terms of whatever you say, it doesn't match anywhere. So how do you see a student who's used to such fantastic technology nowadays, will still be attracted towards something like this. Unless you are completely motivated. Tomorrow I have the exam, I have to anyway study this, maybe you will look at it. But otherwise, on your own motivation, I think it's very difficult to do it. And that is where I think a lot can be done in terms of adoption of technology, appropriate technology. I'm not saying NPTEL is a bad idea. It's an experiment. We should need to improve upon it. We need to make it better than that, and use it in such a way that our faculty shortage, etc., can be addressed very appropriately. But don't have rules saying I have to have a class, I have to have this many professors from this. You don't get people. I conduct an interview. I was told about an IIT Kharagpur interview where 400 people applied, and then they shortlisted it to 50, and then 20 came for interview. They selected 2, 1 did not join. 1 joined, he got a promotion. So ultimately the strength remained is the same. So if they are finding it difficult to recruit, so what about other people? I can recruit for the sake of it. I can, there are MTechs and people are floating around. Not a big deal. I can recruit. But if I'm not getting the quality, I think we are harming the system, harming our students more than we are doing good to them if you are not taking an appropriate person who's doesn't have the proper quality. But we can take technology and close that gap appropriately. So that's a move we must have. We must do. Another aspect which I wanted to talk about is that when we look at engineers and when we look at professional education, there are 2 things one needs to look at. One is how much he knows. Another one is whether he has the aptitude to be that. So in our engineering education, in admissions and so on and so forth, we often test on physics, chemistry, mathematics, and if somebody scores well, we think he's good and he should become an engineer. We are not looking at the aptitude part of it. So suppose somebody joins a computer industry, IT industry, and his job requires that he should look at the computer alone for, say, 12 hours a day. No friends, nothing, right? That's his job. So even if you are good at programming, you may not have the aptitude to face the computer screen 12 hours a day, every day, forever. So some people get upset. They say, this is not what I want. I want a more social life. So let me quit the job and join somewhere else. So when I take a student on computers, so should I look at whether he knows programming, or should I also look at whether he can sustain looking at the computer screen 12 hours a day and still feel happy about it and go home and have a nice sleep, not get upset about it and not have a headache for the rest of his life? I think to some extent we need to bring in the aptitude, which is a more difficult thing to measure. Knowledge is easier to measure. Do you know 2 plus 2 is 4 or not is easier to test, but do you make a good engineer? Do you have the problem solving skills? Do you have the people skills, etc.? It's more difficult to measure, but nevertheless we should try towards it. And finally, one more aspect which I don't know whether we can solve it, we can't solve it. It's an issue of ethics. It's an issue of ethics. When we see that our examination system, our evaluation system, whatever we see, it's designed with assuming that there is no trust. I cannot trust somebody. Like I can't trust the person who sets the examination paper. I can't trust the person who evaluates it. I can't trust the student who writes the examination, and that has been our culture. I remember when I was a young student, my father used to be a teacher, and we used to stay in a village, and during the examination time some strangers will come and roam around. So I was not understanding, but later on they said they have figured out that the question papers from the board have come to that school for evaluation. They are trying to find out who is the teacher, and maybe they will bribe him something and get some extra marks out of it. So this I am talking about 30 years ago. And today, I was part of the board of this BSc some committee, and the kind of practices they told me, it horrified me. That people put money in the answer paper so that the teacher will give. They give a phone number so that you can call up and you can negotiate. Okay, how much mark you want? You tell me, I can do that. I mean, these are unthinkable for me. And we are actually struggling with this kind of ethics in our higher education. I mean, in any form, but not just higher education, every education. So our whole system goes towards, okay, how do I catch the thief rather than making good things out of it? So whether it's CCTV camera or whatever, it's all about a question of ethics, because we can't trust our people. And how do I bring that ethics so that I don't spend my energy on this kind of things, but spend my energy on better things? I think that is something to think about, and that is where we have to start the ethics process somewhere and have penalties which are so huge that it becomes preventive. And you say that if I do this, it's actually the end of my life kind of thing, and we have to do something like that. Otherwise, we will always struggle with these silly things rather than looking at better things ourselves. So I will not take more time. Once again, I will thank the organizers to have invited us to come to this seminar and share our thoughts. Thank you very much.
Professor Mantha mentioned that the people in technical education, the leaders, they must have passion, and passion will not only help, it comes backed by resources. So I think Professor Sarangi is the right person to talk on. He is a very passionate person. I know I visited NITTR Rourkela, and the way the mind-boggling expansion and infrastructures and the various initiatives are being taken, I was really impressed. And I thought he must come here and share his share his ideas, initiatives that will benefit all of us. Thank you.
Inviting me here and giving me an opportunity to stand before such an august audience. Regarding all the compliments in your introduction, I am not so sure whether I should thank or not, because I should thank because you have a big heart and have been kind to say good things about me. But I should not thank you because I feel you have set the expectation of the audience high, so that if I don't meet, they will curse me rather than you. Okay, so the question is, in making a scientific presentation, it's very easy. You bring slides, PowerPoint presentation, and that guides you what to talk. But when a PowerPoint presentation is not there, I have closed this laptop here. When a PowerPoint presentation is not there, you are guided by your insight. So the mode of conversation is more like the college canteen or the drawing room, rather than it's like addressing an august audience and a formal lecture and so on. So I don't have any specific agenda to talk, but I will be discussing multiple issues as they come by. First, let me start with the faculty shortage issue which Professor Nayak mentioned, and it's obviously most serious issue affecting technical education and all higher education today. He has said all the good things. I will just supplement one or two issues on this front. What happens is like this. Before I go into this faculty shortage issue, I would like to reproduce here something I learned from a very great man, Professor Govt in one of his lectures in UGC premises several years ago. He is the one who articulated, which I learned from him, the distinction between a college and university. And in fact, most of us know, most of us perceive it, but he is the one who articulated it right. And the thing is, many people outside teaching profession are not aware of it. The reason is this. What he said, a college is a 4-year, 5-year, 6-year affair, where a student goes essentially to be more employable. At the age of 18, when he comes out of high school, he is capable of doing a lot of things. He can drive a bus, he can be a clerk, he can do many things, but he cannot be an accountant, he cannot be a doctor, he cannot be a veterinary doctor, he can't be a lawyer, he can't be an engineer, all that at the age of 18. He has to learn the new skills, for which he goes to college. He studies arts, science, commerce, engineering, medicine, veterinary, law, all these things he studies. 4 years or 5 years later, he comes out with additional skills which gives him a better living than he could have ever drawn at the age of 18, from high school. So a college is essentially a student-centric place. It is a coaching center. It's an education. We distinguish between training and education. Education expands the mind. It teaches people how to think for themselves, how to learn by themselves. Whereas the training essentially narrows down the mind. I get trained as a lathe operator. So what happens? I very quickly do the lathe work and do 100 pieces every day, same kind of cutting, and I don't get bored. I still go at the end of the day quite happy that I did this. And I was trained how to operate it and make one machine. An engineer will get terribly bored if he has to do the same piece of machining 100 times a day and day in, day out every day. So that's a big difference. So education makes you think, whereas training makes you learn some skill and repeat it. So a college is a lot of education, but little bit of training also. It's some education, some training, where a person learns to be an accountant. He does the same accounting over and over again, but every accounting job has something new and he still gets enough pleasure out of his job. And similarly, a doctor after MBBS, he still treats the same headache for so many patients, but every 10th patient comes out with something. He's having headache, but he gets a stomach reaction to the medicine, then he thinks of something else, goes back and reads a book, and so on, so on. So a college is a place which combines some education and some training. Matters are repetitive. Same professor comes and he also teaches the same Newton's laws on the first year student every year, and he doesn't get bored. Although there is some degree of repetition, there is some amount of newness. End of the day, if the college is a place which is student centric, if one day all students are not there, the college has no business to function. A university, on the other hand, is actually a professor-centric establishment. There, it's more like an academy. In the earlier days, through royal patronage, they were collecting all the scholars the community produced, brought them together, gave them food, lodging, luxuries of life or whatever they could afford, and told them, you pursue whatever you can. The king tells them that, look, I am a king, my father was king, so I have become king. I have learned few skills like fighting wars and organizing manpower and looking at the welfare of my people. But I have not learned astronomy, I have not learned literature, I have not learned science, I have not learned chemistry. So you are the scholars, I have picked you up, you are the brightest people of my state. You have all the freedom to pursue whatever you want. Nobody said that Vikramaditya gave a menu card to Kalidasa and told him that this is what you have to write. He simply said, Mr. Kalidasa, here is your food, board, lodging, residence, comforts of life. You write whatever drama or novel you want to write, you proceed. So similarly, a university is a place where royal patronage or corporate patronage or government patronage collects the brightest people of the community, brings them together and gives them a freedom to read, write and educate. What you read, what you write, what standards you set for your place is all yours, because the minister or honorable secretary feel that there are people who are specialists in their area and they should not be poking with their thought. It is done through collective decision making, some amount of checks and balances so that things don't go haywire. Otherwise, the scholars get together. A university is a place to create information, to create new science, new technology, new medicine, new practices, and to document them. Write a book, write a paper, and that's what the university is for. It is perfectly conceivable that there is a university with 0 students, so that all the scholars get together and just educate each other and bring out books and publications for the public to read at large and get educated. But then why students are there? Because once these people become old and retire and die, what happens? Scholarship will end for the country. So another generation has to be created. So students are incidental rather than the essential component of a university. They are there because they will constitute the next generation of scientists, next generations of poets who would actually carry on the flag. So they are trained in the art of inventing. So to be the future professors, future scientists. Not everybody would become a professor because a very fraction of it will go into reinventing. Other of them will go back to companies as blast furnace managers or other bank managers and so on. But even there, they would put certain inventing onto their job. The bank manager who came from a college, he is expected to be trained in managing a bank, and he would do almost exactly what his predecessor did. And without getting bored, he will repeat it year after year. But a university trained branch manager, his professors have inculcated in him a spirit of invention. So he is the one who is going to come out a method which will be time saving. He is the one who will be more willing to introduce a computer into the bank rather than go by the manual method. But even in the computer, put one tiny additional step in the algorithm which makes it either faster or cheaper or more comfortable for the staff or the client or secure. So these kind of small shop floor inventions are more likely to come from a university trained professional rather than a college trained professional. So this is the distinction which basically I was taught by Professor Govardhan Mehta. Now, why it is important? Now, in a country, like if we see big country like USA with a very large educational infrastructure, there are two distinct sets of organizations. There are what are called community colleges, which are incidentally more famous than universities. And because long ago I went to a town called Pasadena, California, which houses the California Institute of Technology, has only 3,000 students, but it had some 11 Nobel laureates at that time, maybe more today. And it had the Pasadena City College, which was a city college. It was a 4-year college. You could get a BA or BS degree there. And when I asked people from my residents, how do I go to Caltech? They said, Caltech, what it is? I said, it is the famous California Institute of Technology, which has people like Maury Gelman or Richard Feynman and that kind of scientists who are known around the globe. We were like, no idea. So what do I do? He says the best place in Pasadena is the Pasadena City College because everybody goes there. What happened? Every family had a child who had gone to Pasadena City College. But probably from the entire city, might be only 10 people go to the Caltech, rest 2,990 come from all over the globe. And who cares for the Caltech, whether it's in your town or not in your town? So nobody knew. Eventually I called up a friend who studied in Caltech and lived in Stony Brook, 3,000 miles away. And he told me, you just ask people who are Pasadena City Colleges, everybody will tell you, and from there you take a left turn, take a right turn, etc., you will reach Caltech. So it is not that a university is a better institution than a college. They fill different slots of a society's requirement. So you need the Caltech, you also need the Pasadena City College, much larger numbers. Unfortunately, in our country, our planners includes professors like me only, includes bureaucrats like Mr. Kumar, includes leaders like ministers Kapil Sivalji or Palamrajuji. So the question is, all of us are, I feel, have deviated from this model. For us, the UGC essentially comes with one pay structure. It's a common scale. Every child knows, every parent knows, my son is going to college. Okay. So he says, whether he goes to IIT Delhi or he goes to Braj Kishore Mahavidyalaya in my village, it's all considered one element. Only he says Delhi is a bigger college than the Kasarda College. This distinction is not known to my citizenry. It is known to our management, the top management. Because it is not known, we are in serious faculty shortage. Because for us, a trainer and an educator and an inventor are one and same person. And God has not given us enough brain material. I am not saying one is brainier than the other one. Enough aptitude material to create so many people who are either trainers or educators or inventors, leaders. These are different classes of people from their aptitude, from their talent, and so on. If USA today, so many people from our country are migrating to USA, they are not crazy. The society is not producing enough genetic material to sustain so much of academic activity, so much of industrial activity. 50% of American Nobel laureates are foreign born. That means they have been imported. because the USA could not get that kind of genetic material in its own population. So it is not that everybody can be a university professor. Just education doesn't make it. Everybody doesn't make a great Manaksha or a Aurora. You don't make a great military leader. People have to inherit something. Things must be cultured from childhood, which you cannot pick up in higher education stage. And people must be trained to be great business leaders, education leaders, or military leaders, and so on. So this particular distinction is missing. My thought, assuming it somehow reaches the highest echelons of our government, is that it should make a distinction. In that case, it will create more faculty at different levels, and we would get lots of trainers, lot of educators, lot of inventors, and the numbers shrinking as you go up. Today, if you see a class of IIT or NIT or even many other top institutions, no student is ever thinking of becoming a professor. Only circumstances make them happen. So it's very sad. It is because in my village, when they sow, plants, paddy, they get the healthiest plant seeds to be planted next year. So the society must put its brightest people, most successful people into training the next generation. The reverse is happening. In Korea, I was told by somebody who lived 6 years there, my faculty colleague, he says the university salary starts where the industry salary ends. He says it's true that if you become MD of Samsung, you do grow quite fast, but from the university, from a graduating class, the cream goes into university profession. The next layer goes to industry. So the best paid industry recruit earns less than the lowest paid university recruit. So that's Korean philosophy, and that must tell you why a tiny country is producing LG and Samsung and POSCO and you name it. And there is a reason behind it. For us, it's the reverse. Now, for us, the university salaries do not compete. Incidentally, I never complain about salaries because I still get paid so heavy, I don't know how to spend it. My rice and dal and sambar or whatever, and a house free, I only put it to the bank. And there are many like me who just don't know how to spend money in the car. But that's not important. But the young person who comes out, he goes by the figures. He says, my son would ask, Papa, how much you earn? I said, okay, I earn this much. He says, oh, but my seniors got a package from something. The what package was unknown when I was a child, when I was graduated from my college. There is a new one. And these packages are coming. And so what happens is these are realities of life. And so the important thing is we must have a system where, on the other hand, since we have right from trainer to inventor, we have called one designation, one post, one salary. We cannot afford that kind of salaries for such a massive range of teachers. For us, there is only one word, but other countries have different phrases. In fact, the university I studied in US, the history professor earned about 1/3 of the surgery professor. The surgery professor's salary was higher than the electrical engineering professor's salary, and whose salary was higher than the chemistry professor, whose salary was higher than the English professor, whose salary was higher than the history professor. It's just decided by the market forces. And that's why they got the best people to be the surgery professor. For us, my surgery professor, apart from that 25% NPA, he gets the same salary as my history professor. I'm not saying history is a lesser profession. And in fact, I recall one sticker somewhere in MHRD it was put, a society which respects philosophy because it's an exalted activity and disrespects plumbing because it is a simple activity shall have neither good plumbing nor good philosophy. Neither its theories nor its pipe will hold water. So basically it says that yes, plumbing is a good activity, philosophy is a good activity, But society produces few philosophers and lot of plumbers. So salaries have to be different, earnings have to be different, but respects have to be same. So similarly, if the society producing enough people for the Pasadena City College and less people for Caltech, salaries must reflect, respects must reflect that, and everybody has a role to play, and we are suffering from that, and that is the reason it happens this way. But I'll show you one experience. Around year 2000, it was a slump year for the IT industry. That time from IIT Kharagpur, I had put an advertisement for in a project a research student. 3 candidates applied. We interviewed them. The first one was mediocre, the second one was a little better, but I was unhappy. The third one came and he was very bright. And said, after 3 questions, I said, we are going to take him. He says, sir, thank you, but I want to tell something. I said, what is it? He says, sir, it's like this, that I am the mechanical engineering topper from REC Durgapur, and I got a job in Wipro in campus interview, and when I graduated I was ready to join, but the company wrote to me saying that you wait for another 4 months, then you come. And at the end of 4 months they get one more letter saying that wait for another 4 months. So then people are telling like this, they would cancel, and so I felt insecure. So your advertisement there, I applied, but the moment I get my job, I will go away. So you may take me or not take me. So I said, fine, I will still take you. So he came and he started working. He was a bright person, there was no doubt about it. He was working hard. 2 months later, he came and told me, sir, I got my letter. I said, fine, well and good, you go. And all the best, keep in touch. Then I went on some travel, came back after 10 days. Then he was still there. I said, yeah, kya kar rahe ho? Why you have not gone? He says, I am thinking whether to go or not to go. I said, what's the reason? Then he said, eventually he left, but there says such stories like this, that in REC Durgapur, it is not any word against REC Durgapur. It's universally true. At REC Durgapur, not only me, no student ever thought of joining education as a profession. Why? He says, what we saw our professors doing is taking a class and then taking coffee or simply vanishing home or whatever, and it's not the money part. Nobody thought it's not everybody thought it's not a life worth living. There is no excitement and there is no pleasure. There is only boredom, repetition and politics. But after I have come to IIT Kharagpur for the 2 months, as I said, please underline, it's not a castigation of REC Durgapur, no disrespect to a specific institute. It's universally true in India and many other places. My own institute or whatever, IIT Kharagpur, he saw a part of it. The rest of it was not much different also. So what happened, he says that IIT Kharagpur, we find, had I been exposed to this environment, whatever I saw in the past 2 months, I find it extremely exciting. I find people staying with pleasure, students and professors. They are coming, somebody coming at 6 in the morning, somebody coming at 10 in the morning, but somebody going at 6 in the evening, somebody going home at 2 in the morning next day. But it's all out of internal urge to do that. And everybody is busy, everybody is learning new things today, and it's really exciting. And my aptitude and this life matches so well. I had been exposed to it earlier. I had no idea such a life exists in this world. Such institutes exist in this world. I all thought everybody would be like my college, and things happen. And so I am thinking. But then after 10 days he comes, sir, I am not on my own control. I have parents, I have brother, sister, uncle, brother-in-law, etc., etc. So much of family pressure and so much of peer pressure, and I am going. But my heart doesn't want to leave this specific laboratory and this work environment. What I am saying, our institutions of higher learning, which are universities. IIT is a university. It's not the name university there or not there, that's not important. It's not a 4-year college. It's a university, it's a comprehensive scholastic environment. And this actually gives another kind of excitement which is not available to the college student. He is not aware there is a life beyond this. Only when he doesn't get a job, he goes to MTech, then he gets exposed to it. So that the lower end of his college gets exposed to the upper end of scholastic activity. The upper end of the college never gets a chance. So our country is not producing faculty, not because students are not interested, but because we have created an environment where students are not getting exposed to it. Now what is the way out? How do we get out of this, vicious circle of the lack of faculty? What we feel that number one, universities, colleges, government is still remains the primary employer. At least the leading class, where the brighter students are going, they are going to government colleges, they are going to CET, they are going to Burla, they are going to Sarangi, they are going to Chandra and so on. For us, they are going to Rourkela, Kharagpur, Bombay. Our regulations still say that a faculty, if he takes his classes, which are actually very few, he has discharged his obligation to the management and no action can be taken against him. This clause should be dropped immediately. It should be that anybody who joined as a faculty member, he has 3 or 4 concurrent obligations. He has to teach as per syllabus. He has to read and publish. In a good institution, reading to teaching ratio, more time in reading, less time in teaching. In a weak institution, more time teaching. In primary school it's almost 100% and less time reading. And reading should be a mandatory requirement for the faculty and it should be all the time. And they must participate in curriculum framing, in syllabus making, in growing of the laboratories. And unless these are done, they must be linked to existence itself, including such things saying, no, you are not suitable for the teaching profession, you have to back it. So unless certain level of compulsion is put into the regulations itself, we will not be performing. And we are doing that in Rourkela, for example. If Mr. Kumar has given some compliments, well, there is somebody who is not complimenting. So the reason is that people are not getting confirmed unless they get a sponsored project. People are not getting confirmed, it's a requirement to add experiments to your lab. I inherit a IC Engine's lab, there were 12 experiments in the lab and I also leave with exactly same 12 experiments after being in charge for 3 years. I won't get confirmed, I won't get a promotion. So it must be a part of growth process. And similarly, if people are not reading, they have no business to become faculty. Faculty should be paid for reading. And therefore, then what does the management do? How does the management facilitate? When I joined NITTR Rourkela in 2003, it was vacation time, and the official lock on all the buildings by the security came at 11 a.m. 8 to 11 were the official timing for 3 months in a year, and there was at 5 p.m. They would lock. Very, very active professors would give the key to a student who will go to the professor's home at 8, 9, 10, whatever, and submit the key there only to bring it next day. So the lot of effort to make was spent to lock rather than unlock. And today the institute campus was last locked in 2003. After that, it has never been locked. Department buildings do get locked. They automatically get opened at about 7 in the morning and remain open as long as any individual is there. Every person carrying out a project, an MTech student, a PhD student, a professor, everyone can have a key. It's absolutely, people have forgotten that you have to submit a key in professor's home. This is because when I went there, one case came, one Mrs. Radha's case came. What is Mrs. Radha's case? That she was in electronics department, she got transferred to ceramic department, and while taking stock of her material under her care, one oscilloscope was missing. Did Mrs. Radha put an oscilloscope in her vanity bag and take it home and use it in her kitchen? Definitely she didn't do it. But while counting, this oscilloscope was not there in a lab, and out of 57 oscilloscopes, one was missing. So what happened? She was asked to pay for the oscilloscope. So what happened? We brought out a very clearly worded order saying that no individual is responsible for the contents under their care. If a driver goes to railway station to bring a guest, he locks his car and goes inside to collect the guest, comes back and finds that the car is stolen, he is not legally liable for replacing the car. Now you think, can a driver pay car cost simply because the car got stolen while the key was in his pocket? A technician being held responsible for contents of the laboratory is as insane as that. Unfortunately, that's the law. It's not the law. I never found anywhere it is written, but it's a practice. So there must be a state law which says that no person will be personally liable. Think of director being liable for the institute's property when a new director comes. What we asked people, that the HOD told me that okay, because Mrs. Radha was in charge of the laboratory and now the material is missing, she is liable. I said, wonderful idea. Then when this HOD goes away, a new HOD comes, I should count the whole department and they make the HOD liable. Or when the new director comes, in fact, when a new chief minister comes, I hope our chief minister continues for a long time, but if the state is losing something, I'm not looking forward to new chief minister, but then, someday, there will be 30 years down the line, there will be new chief minister. Are you going to make him responsible for the entire state? This is absolutely insane. So official responsibility should be absolutely delinked from this. Then, but if you find the oscilloscope in Mrs. Radha's home, then story is different. The burden of proof should remain on the management rather than the employee to prove that I have not taken it home. If things are lost, just file an FIR and do end with it. Now, the consequence is phenomenally good. Why? Because as long as the person is personally liable, every equipment is inside the almirah and only the key is in the person's pocket. And those who are safer, they don't put the key in the pocket, they keep it at home, inside another Godrej. And the key of that being in the wife's vanity bag. So the reality remains that those things are as good as dead forever from the students. Every equipment must be displayed on the table so that people can use them. It means people should not be made personally liable at all under any circumstances, and nobody should be liable, but people should still be hanged for being irresponsible. In the sense, we know everything that small items, etc., wrenches, tools, they should not be spread around. They must be organized and displayed. What I say is that they put a wall, if there are wrenches, there are hammers, there are screwdrivers, etc., they are displayed. As soon as you come, you find two are missing. At least you can trace it. So the question of, while responsible behavior is a requirement, such mandatory accountability is a key phrase where it's not to be done. In fact, the sense of insecurity, sense of security must be instilled among the staff for doing it. So there are tiny things like that. So making the buildings accessible to everybody, making so a system based upon mistrust can never give results. It must be based on trust. Now look at the cost. What you are paying to a technician. Today, a technical assistant starts with a gross expenditure, at least salary of 25,000 plus quarter plus pension, this, that. Approximately 50,000 a month would be the gross investment per person, 6 lakhs on that, and for a faculty it should be at least not less than 12 lakhs a year. Now, for 20 rupees, for 200 rupees, for 500 rupees, so much of paperwork, it should go, and this is going to make a gross improvement in every organization. I am talking of down to earth stuff, not philosophical stuff. Another one, this is something That's absolutely important. Second is, as we said, that for faculty confidence, somebody wants to got a fellowship abroad. So what was the law? You have not put in 3 years service, so no leave can be given. Okay. So the HOD tells me that no, he has only joined 1 year ago and leave cannot be given. Wonderful idea. He says, okay, all right. Now when he completes 3 years, do you guarantee him a fellowship? Now we should be sending people abroad. Every company invests in human resource development. Okay. Now it is my duty, if I want better performance from my teacher, he must be better educated. So it is in our interest that the faculty is deputed to a better institution to learn and come back. And so that was the reason why somebody sent Huanshan or somebody Chinese fellows to come and study in Nalanda. Why? Because their government must have funded it, otherwise how did he come? So the reality remains that always we should depute. Human resource improvement, if the faculty is not improved, if he is guaranteed 2 things. First, he is there, he cannot leave this place either for good or for bad. Means he cannot be sacked and he cannot go out for improvement. Then he has no motivation to improve. So it's mandatory. So what we made a law? We say that you have to render 1 day service in order to be eligible for taking a long leave. And now a fellow goes away after 1 day service, he leaves his job, he goes to MIT, Stanford, whatever, 10 fellows went, 7 fellows stayed back, 3 fellows come back. So 7 guys we have lost. Had I made it compulsory, they would have stayed. But 3 fellows who are Stanford educated, I would have never got. Okay. So I would have a self-perpetuating mediocrity culture and without the excellence coming in. But what did I lose? I did not pay him for the 1 year, they were not there. So after 1 year he resigns and goes away. And of course I could not recruit a person in his place. But every institute says that there is a faculty shortage, my positions are going vacant. If my positions are going vacant, then whether he resigns today or resigns 1 year later, my positions, I have another 3 positions. Fill up करना है तो वो तीनों को करो. इसी का पीछे क्यों पड़े हो? So this fellow vanishes in the first year. He comes, works 1 day, goes away. 2 years later he submits his resignation. But my other 3 posts are vacant, so I could fill them up. And suppose I don't have positions, and statistics tells me that people wouldn't come back. I can create 3 extra positions to be only kept vacant while people are going away. In fact, IIT law says 15% additional positions are built in into the system. So we need not be so conservative on positions, and there is enough relaxation, and additional positions should be there if necessary, so that we must be investing 25% of our people must be away so that they come back more educated. If my village doctor never goes out of my village, I will never learn about a new medicine in life. Now, do we want to be treated by the same village doctor all the time, or somebody who goes to SCB Medical College, does a 1 month refresher course and comes back, or 1 year refresher course, or works in Bhubaneswar Hospital, Unit 6 for 2 years and comes back? He will be a far better doctor. So if it has to be done, so this kind of attitude of forbidding people from traveling should be gone, and that has been another reason why I feel that we deserve compliments from Mr. Kumar. So the key remains in being realistic, running institutes as a business. Now obviously Dhirubhai Ambani did not stop his people from learning a skill from elsewhere. So the question is, we should do that. So one on mistrust, and the another one we have done is, yes sir. So I got a notice, please wait. So the other one is, when it goes to administration, usually what happens, we go and say, sir, I have a problem, हमारा कुछ pension का something has gone. Fine. So what is to be done? I said, I met the clerk for so long, he is not listening. I said, did you meet the deputy registrar or something? I said, he says he is a very nice person. He says, I can do everything. But file to मेरे पास आया नहीं तो मैं क्या करूँ? You meet the clerk. So what happens? We live in a system where it is controlled by the lowest person. Officers are nice people. They approve or disapprove or whatever they want as per rules. But the ownership of the files remain with the clerical staff. And all the speed is controlled by them. This should be forbidden. We brought out an explicit order telling that a class 1 officer, pay band 3, will be the lowest level of ownership of files. Anybody below that shall have no accountability. That means things go right or wrong or whatever, he will never be prosecuted unless it is proved that there is a conscious malified intention of manipulating. Negligence would not be an offense of the lower staff because they are always under control of their supervisors and they will be able to, they are being monitored. And it is the duty of an officer to see that if I have, these are the activities, he has a list of files, he is supposed to monitor, he gives assignments to the clerical staff, to the superintendent 1 week's job at a time, he gives 1 day's job to the LDC, then there is absolutely no problem. And the service receivers are forbidden from talking to anybody below a class 1 officer. So a service receiver would go to an officer saying that I have an issue regarding my loan, what happened, or regarding my promotion, regarding my travel, regarding anything. What happened, my department's faculty recruitment, whatever it is. So what happens is we end up having officers at all level, engineering, medical, assistant registrar, assistant librarians, whatever. That is the lowest level people are aware. And officers actually constitute another breed of people than non-officers. They are characterized, they are more educated and less trained. And non-officers are more trained, less educated. If I have to leave entry in a register, 100 entries a man does every day for 3 years continuously. He never gets bored. It requires a talent. I have a lot of respect for him. But that's not an officer grade material. Officers are different people. They are educated, they think, they introduce a system and they get bored by repetition. They are the ones who invent time-saving methods. So responsibility is with officers only and absolutely no responsibility, no accountability on the supporting staff, and they simply, 1 day job, if he does it right, well and good. If he doesn't do, then either he is told lightly, mildly saying, "Aisa mat karo bhaiya, thoda kaam karo," or given a 1 day's absence. No, CR -3 at the end of the year. You observed somebody to bungle his work for a whole year, you marked him present, paid salary for a whole year at the same bad CR. Nothing can be more sacrilegious than that. So CR is always good because unless he has lost salary for 6 months in a year. So these are some of the day-to-day matters. If we do, our colleges, our universities will work far better and we will be able to give a good service. This is all I wanted to share with my colleagues, many of whom are in the profession or many of whom are controlling the profession. Thank you.
Minor things, actually we are basically ignoring our own efficiency and we are adding to our all sorts of inefficiency. So now I will invite our Directorate in Education, Arvind Aggarwal. He will talk on the various initiatives which have been taken by DT on diploma education, e-governance and other things.
Secretary Sir, Professor. It's already too late. We are about, it's lunchtime, so I hope I won't bother you much for these things. And one more thing, like when I was initially starting my presentation, something happened. I could not start my presentation, and Professor Sarangi had made it irrelevant also. Like when he said, with the presentations, like whatever comes to the heart that can't be expressed. So I'll try not to bother you more with the presentation, and I'll try to be very brief. Basically, I just initially I wanted to give a brief information on how this department, what's the role of this Directorate of Technical Education. Directorate of Technical Education. Basically, it deals with more degree and diploma and ITI sector in the state. We run this undergraduate, postgraduate, doctoral in engineering and all these things which most of you know. So we'll just simply see what's the growth, how the three sectors like degree, diploma and ITI. Basically, these are managerial, supervisor and shop level workforce. So here the involvement of the private entrepreneurship and private involvement. Here since post 2000 we have seen tremendous growth in the participation of private parties in both the diploma, ITI and managerial and degree courses, and as a result we have seen the development. Like now the entire concentration of ITI, Polytechnic, etc. is concentrated into the one zone, and the western and southern part of the Odisha is does not have adequate presence of this technical education. But Professor Mantha has already told, like because of more and more private entrepreneurs coming into the technical education, the backward area remains inaccessible for technical education, for their people. So for here, there is a need of government intervention. So here, under the guidance of our Secretary Sir, in fact, now the government has planned to have ITI in all the blocks of the state, and here we are devising all the mechanisms, like so in some places we are opening government ITIs, in some places we are going for industry participation, and in some cases we are going for ITIs under PPP mode, where the investment will be made by the state and it will be run and operated by the private parties. So we are hopeful that in next 2 years the entire all the blocks will have an ITI and technical education, and in all the districts will have one polytechnic. So basically, this is an overview of how what is the technical education sector is basically. So we are skipping it due to short of time. Now what basically now when we talk about technical education, there are basically two aspects comes. One is academic aspect and another is like the employability. So for admissions, there was a time like when the admission was done in a manual process and lots of time we are consuming. But since Sir has taken an initiative, and now the entire application for examination for admissions, the admission process, everything is being online and has been conducted in a shortest possible time. Similarly, the assessment process, that whatever the result publication and all, is being done through an automated software of planned at SCTVT. So as a result of which, the time that is being the time which was there, inordinate delay was avoided. Now, basically, this was the process of introduction of basically quality of education and the syllabus. When we talk about quality of education, the two things comes, like the issue has already been discussed, is like shortage of faculties and the inadequate infrastructure. In fact, from this current session itself, from February, we are hopeful that 3,000 number of additional seats in ITI and 1,000 seats in Polytechnic in government sector will be introduced. So these are the things that we are expecting will be done from the month of February itself, and for this expansion process is already on. So one more thing that I would like to highlight here is like the investment made by the government in technical education. For the year 14-15, we are given budgetary support of 500 crore rupees from the state budget, and also like as previous sessions, it has already been told that the Government of India under RUSA, Rashtriya Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan, is also providing funds for technical education. Now, under the state government is also collaborating with the Asian Development Bank for a period of 10 years, where more than 2,000 crore of rupees will be invested in next 10 years for technical education, and which will definitely change the entire scenario in the technical in the field of technical education in the state. As of now, as most of you would be aware, that by the end of the 12th five-year plan, the state government has planned to train minimum 30 lakh people. So we are hopeful that by 16-17 we will be achieving that target also. Basically, under this, now to improve the quality of education, what we are doing is like we are introducing more and more new advanced technologies of imparting training, like planning to introduce smart classes in all the ITs and polytechnics, wherein the visualization of the theory and theories will be given, so that it will give a better understanding to the students. We are also planning to, in fact, it's already been in place in some places, like virtual classroom, wherein through integrate through different this in fact, through with the help of EduShed and the programs, different programs, this virtual classroom has already been in place in some cases. We are also in the process of like for integration of all the different different polytechnics and ITIs. We are planning to have a common software where all the activities of the students, the faculties, and entire academic things of the polytechnic and ITIs will be integrated and monitored at the state level. And for, we are also focusing on like as we have noticed that the one major concern for higher education is like the change of medium. When the people in Odisha is basically in most of the places they read in Odia medium, and suddenly when they go to the technical education, the medium changes. So it's difficult for a student to immediately grasp the things. For that purpose, we are also from next session we will be introducing a brief 2 months short brief course, wherein like all the transition from Odia to English will be more smooth and favorable for the students. We are also developing the syllabus as per the recent industry demands, and for that purpose we are also digitalizing different syllabus with the help of Autodesk. And SCTVT is already working on that front. For faculties development, we are setting up different ITOTs. In fact, for training of trainers, we are setting up one ITOT at Talcher, and few other few other initiatives have been taken on this front. Even to give the independence to ITIs, like what Professor Sarangi had said, like that it is administration is controlled by the lower rung of the administration, and in order to give, and that's practically true for interaction between Directorate and government ITIs and polytechnics. There also we have noticed that this bureaucratic hurdles comes. So in order to give them the autonomy, as per direction of respected sir, the governing body has been formed for all the polytechnics and government ITIs, and quite a lot of autonomy has been given to them to decide and innovate for the academics. So basically, we are also going for education through information and communication technology, and with the help of NITTR. And on 28th, we are signing an MOU with them for introduction of new methods of teaching. So I'm hopeful that with the level of thrust given by the government to this sector and the amount of money which is being pumped to this sector, definitely the people of Odisha will excel in technical education, because ultimately in both the three sectors of the economy, the trained people would definitely add dividends to us, and this basically this and we will see a better Odisha for in future. So without taking much of your time, I would request if anybody has any suggestions and how to improve the system in a better way. We are always open for such type of suggestions. Thanking you all. Thank you.
For presenting a very interesting lecture on various initiatives taken by NITTR and how this initiative will further expanded to all our diploma institutions, and even the private diploma institutions, they should take benefit of this initiative.
Midst of a galaxy of speakers, fantastic speakers, I find myself as a wrong man in the wrong place, no doubt about it. so therefore, you see that I started my life as not life, my career as a trained chemical engineer, went to the industries to do my stint, then came back to be an entrepreneur, and I went ahead, then I failed, then I went to administration as Deputy Director of Technical Education in West Bengal and spent my time there. Then I joined NITTR Kolkata. Previously it was known as Technical Teachers Training Institute, many of whom you know by that name. So in the Department of Educational Planning and Management. And one sure thing happened in between. What is that? Can you explain? I forgot my chemical engineering. It's right out of my head. It's not there. Anyway, the fact is this, that in the meantime, another important thing happened, that I learned one function which is very, very essential post our, what I would say, in the 1991. So you all know that 1991, one of the important thing happened in our economy, that we opened up our economy. Manmohan Singh ji was the then finance minister, and our globalization process started. And I reckon that with the globalization process, politically I may differ, you may differ, many people may differ, but one sure thing happened, I think there's a positive one, that is the bringing about the quality. The conversation is about the quality, so far as the products are concerned. So from there actually everything started changing, that I meant. Anyway, now so far as the quality is concerned, I'm not going into quality, I assure you. I'm very short on my presentation. So one sure thing happened, that quality of product, quality of services, blah blah, all these things we know. There are fact books available on the market and many people have gone through it. But another thing that happened in between is that the quality of teaching learning system, quality of educational institutions. That actually came with the World Bank Assisted project that was initiated in 1991. Many of my old friends sitting here from the polytechnics who were actually part of that huge project that actually happened in 1991 till 2007. Anyway, so actually what we do in my institution, I'm going to explain. I've got a long presentation, but I will cut it short for you because lunch is waiting, looking at us, as a matter of fact. So as a matter of fact, the thing is this, that in this institute what we do is that we train. I am not inclined to call myself a teacher, because I'm inclined to call myself a trainer rather than a teacher. Because in this institute, I have come to learn one thing surely, that what is the difference between the training function and so far as the teaching function is. But in training function, teaching also happens, lecturing also happens, but anyway, there are a lot more differences. So I started learning it, and I saw that it's most important in these days, where actually Professor Sarangi and Professor Nayak said value erosion kind of thing that is happening, that everybody knows that quality, degradation, value addition, value degradation, everything happening all over the educational institutions, all over the educational system. So that is to be arrested, many people say, but how, we don't know really. However, so what we do in our institution is that we, apart from training, we do many other things. So therefore, to cut my presentation short, I will start with one of my selected friend, and I will start with that, and then come to another thing. Professor Mr. Aggarwal has already said that we are next Tuesday we are entering into a MOU. We are signing an MOU. What exactly is all about? I will try to explain it briefly. Okay. Just give me a moment. Rather, 4 institutions are there. They were created or established way back in 1965 to cater to the quality improvement of teaching learning system in the polytechnic system as such in the country. And 4 such institutions were created, were established in Calcutta. One is in Calcutta, in Salt Lake City. Another is in Chandigarh. Another is in Gopal. Another is in Chennai. So there are 4 institutions of similar nature, similar kind. And we work under MHRD, Ministry of Human Resource Development, and we are 100% funded by them. Anyway, coming back to my activities of our institute, let us look at this presentation. One of the most important aspect of our activity is training and education. Training has been our bread and butter. We do train, okay, teachers, particularly teachers and technicians as well. And education means that with the passage of time, we have now opened 4 MTech programs. One in software engineering, another in construction technology, mechatronics engineering, another in mechanical engineering. So 4 master's degree program are going on apart from the training and other activities. So what are the other activities? The second group of activities is curriculum development. So when in the States, when the curriculum every 5 or 6 years, when it is revised, excuse me. So when it is revised, we are the consultants to do the job on behalf of the state government. We sit with the industry people, we invite industry people, we sit with the polytechnics to revise the curriculum. As also when it is required to introduce a new curriculum in a new area of development, we also do the same thing. The third group of activity is known, we call it instructional material development. This instructional material development is that our training programs come with a fat kind of training material. Apart from this printed materials, we have got plenty of other non-print materials. For example, we make 20 odd video films on educational subjects and themes every year, and those are projected over Gyan channel. As you know, Gyan channel is a free channel, and as IITs also got a slot. We have also got a slot in the evening and morning. So these are some of the ideas. And another part of us is research and development. But here specifically, apart from the laboratory research, we do little of that, but we go for systemic research. Exactly, we have done a lot of research, but anyway, I don't have the time to narrate those stories. And the last one is extension services and consultancy. Many of the Government of India sponsored rural development programs are controlled by us. We monitor this. Those are being implemented through the polytechnics of the country. Okay. Now, hereby I won't go with this again. Let me come back. What are the new initiatives have been taken? Well, let me tell you my experience in the last 18 or 19 years, that our training programs are normally what is known as traditional contact mode, where you come, I go, or you come to me and I will train in the contact mode. But the fact of the matter is, as Professor Mantha has said, and we have gone through many documents, that there are thousands of teachers per se, they are coming into the system without having the capacity to being a teacher. Because I start my class like saying this, you may be a first class person in any kind of subject, but does that guarantee you will be a good teacher? Everybody says no. So del X component is there, what exactly is there? That is our bread and butter. We try to teach, we try to share with our participants that what exactly is required to become a successful teacher. So therefore, now the number is also very large. There are thousands of teachers. I cannot really tell you the number, but it's not less than 30,000 all over the country. Those teaching community need to be trained in teaching techniques. Because in my experience as an administrator or as a trainer, I have seen that many seasoned teachers also lack in communication. I have seen that because that is why that is one of our forte or one of our most strong areas, to give the teachers this idea that without the good communication you cannot be or remain a good teacher. It's impossible task. So there are many other areas in which we offer our training programs. I offer in management programs like say TQM in education, ISO 9000 in education, etc., many other things. Anyway, so now So this is the actually what I was trying to say is this: the need of the hour is to cater to more and more people. More and more people means here I am focusing on the teaching community. We have to train more people, so it's not possible. And one more information for many of you who might not know it, that we have got one of our extension centers in Chandra, in the Girls Polytechnic campus. Now it is a government polytechnic, and another extension center in Govt city, again in the Girls Polytechnic campus. So in this extension centers, as also in our main center in Calcutta, we offer training. But not more than 2,200 trainings can be done in a year. We have seen over the years, over the period of 10 years. So the next question comes to how to reach more and more people. Obvious answer is that through the internet. That is the ICT mode of training. So let me tell you with some kind of satisfaction that this ICT mode of training we had started way back in 2012 in the month of September, and more happily I would announce that your state, the Odisha state and West Bengal have been very significant. There have been very significant presence from your state, and till today, as I was informed by my colleague in the computer department, 20 institutes means here I am talking about polytechnics, they are connected with us through ICT. So next week one of my colleagues is starting another training program. So my appeal to all of you, whosoever is present here, so go to your computer and take that course. And in order to do that, we take the help of AView software. Many of you might be knowing AView software. It was a software, it has been software that has been developed by Amrita University in collaboration with Bombay IIT, funded by MHRD. So that is freely downloadable. So we use this software, but some technical problems are still there because the bandwidth cannot be ensured all the time. However, so we use this and we have been doing this. This is one part. But apart from this, let me tell you another thing, that you all know that there are a lot of e-learning materials available on the web. In ICT, this scheme and project everybody knows. So this, now the Ministry of MHRD, the other day we are having our video conferencing with our Joint Secretary, Mr. Praveen Prakash. He said that the Ministry wants the integration of these e-learning materials with the curriculum of the engineering colleges as also those of the polytechnic institutions. Now the question was, how was it possible? So now they said that NITTR, that's my institution or a group of institutions, so 4 such institutions, happen to be existing in a kind of in-between. So they have said that there will be a MOU to be signed between the state authority for the polytechnics. This MOU will be signed between the State Board of Technical Education or the gentleman who is controlling that, as also the Director of Technical Education. So I will sign for my institutions. But for the engineering college, a similar project is open, still it's open. And for engineering colleges, for the government, the universities might come into the picture. So for example, we are approaching, just the last 2 days ago, I had a meeting with the Vice Chancellor of WBUT. A similar kind of meeting I'll be having next week with BPUT. So just to explore the possibility, if it is the similar kind of activity can be done also in the engineering colleges. But for the private, and another important thing is this, that this project is open for both the private and government polytechnics, as also it is true for the engineering colleges. But for one thing, that for engineering colleges, such MOU will have to be signed between the NITTR Kolkata and the principals of the main governing body. Okay, but there is another thing, one last thing before we break for lunch, another thing, that there is a financial component. The financial component has been divided. It has been proposed in the draft curriculum, in the draft MOU that has been already catered to all the states. The states have gone through it, and they have also suggested some changes, etc., etc. For example, in order to get the NME ICT line, you have to lay the cables. So the cost of that cable and per line basis whatsoever, that will be provided by BSNL. And that sharing of cost, it has been proposed that 50% will be given by, 75% will be given by the central government and 20% will have to be borne by the state government. This is one part. Another cost component is there, which is, it is proposed under this scheme is that the teachers of the polytechnics and teachers of the engineering colleges will be given, to enable them to download those materials and do whatever is required, they will be given some gadgetries. But the limit of that gadgetry is in monetary valuation is 20,000 rupees. So this 20,000 rupees will be divided 50-50 sharing. But there are some other issues that the northeastern states say that they have got NME ICT lines already, they are in the NME ICT project, but the sharing is 10 and 90. Okay, so these things are to be sorted out. It is a new proposal that have come. We are also studying, and the states are also studying. But just to give it a go by, it is green signal. Just to take the first step, we are going to Tuesday, or we are going on Tuesday to Delhi, in presence of the MHRD Minister, Mr. Pallam Raju. Signature between TTTIs and different states in the country will happen. Those states who have actually come forward to say yes. So this is reality, and this story I wanted to share with you. And I believe that it is almost 2:30, so I am not lingering with this. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
To Dr. Chakraborty. We would, the lunch is on, so you can join us for the lunch at the pool side and at the Deep Mahal.